Let's see here. Welcome, everybody. We'll let my computer get up and going here. Welcome to Play Well Live. Awesome. Good morning, everyone. So, welcome back. If you didn't join us yesterday, Ben and I had a ton of fun doing Play Well Live together. Be sure to check that out. It was super fun doing that. So thanks for everyone who joined us for that one. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a technique that has become one of my new favorites to use in just a really cool variety of settings. So we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, thanks for joining us again. Okay, so this morning, if you've seen the description, or maybe you saw the picture that I posted that said, what are we going to do with all of these random blue pieces that are just, left over from a variety of things? They're odd shapes and sizes and whatever. Well, I'm not actually going to do anything with them. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about a technique that uses these random leftover pieces to create something really interesting in ways that you might not normally think of using those pieces. Okay, so before I tell you what the technique is, I want to show you just two examples here of a path that I built. First example, I'll show you over here. All right, there's a nice little path, nice little, dirt, sand, whatever path that I built, okay, on a green base plate. Pretty simple. It's just bricks. Okay, now here is take two of the path using just any random tannish, brownish pieces I could find. There's my other path. Okay, if you look at it from a distance, let's take a look. Which one of those is more interesting, do you think? Personally, I think this other path over here is nice, but it's kind of simple. And then this one over here just looks so much more interesting. There's so much more texture to it. It looks more realistic, in my opinion. Now, when you zoom into it, do those look like pieces that you would normally use to make a path? I've got like these little rounds. I've got something that's got a weird hinge on it. I don't know, some really flat, smooth pieces. Some of those slopes. Even a little like archway, yeah, and I don't know what this piece even is. That's a weird one, right? So I've used all these pieces that I just found in the bottom of my bin, basically, and they didn't have any purpose before, and now I've created this really cool textured path. Okay, so this technique is called Greebling. Okay, it can be used in a variety of ways, and we're going to look at some different ways to use it. But Greebling allows you to use these pieces in interesting ways to add texture. So it's all about layering the pieces, creating a really interesting texture using things that you wouldn't normally think of using in that situation. Okay, so I have my bin of random blue pieces. Any ideas what we might be making with those using our Greebling technique? All right, I have these two lovely paths that I think should be right along a river. So we're going to build a river in here, okay? And here's the thing. Hi, Rye and Sarah. Thanks for joining us. And Aloma, nice to see you as well. All right, so I'm going to show you here now how I'm going to make this river, okay? And here's the thing with Greebling. This is the way I like to do it, okay? I gathered these blue pieces, not thinking about what shape they are, what size they are, or anything. And I'm going to put them down on here without thinking too much about where I am putting them, okay? As I get going and I start to see it taking shape, there might be things that I try to accentuate a little bit and emphasize. But at first, I'm really just going to kind of grab at random into this bin over here and start putting them on my base plate. So let me tilt you down here so we can see what we're doing here. I've got my two paths, right? My smooth, straight path and my more textured, interesting path over here. Okay, and I'm going to put a river down the middle. So I'm just going to start reaching into my bin here, and I'm just going to start putting pieces down on my base plate. Okay, not really caring where they go, what they're looking like. Okay, just gonna kind of start getting things on there. Okay, that one can go on there. And here's the thing, right? You don't have to think about this very much. Oh, hi, Opa. All right, and let's see here. I am just kind of lay things down. Ooh, these ones that I have that are like tall and flat, right? That wouldn't really work well for my river, but with some of these, you can get them wedged really nicely in between. This one doesn't fit as well between the studs there. Okay, but I can even just wedge this one side of it into the studs, and now it's part of my river, right? It's attached there. All right, so I'm gonna keep going here, creating my river, and basically I'm just putting things down. I'm not even looking where they're going, right? I'm just gonna take a piece and I don't know, let's see, where can I fit that on my base plate? Sure, there we go, okay, fits there. A chair, yeah, that can be part of my river. Okay, I'm just gonna put that down there, right? This is what I love about this technique is I just kind of make it random. And you know, like I said, as you're going, if you see something that you think then, oh, that looks like this, you can then be more intentional with it. Okay, this is one approach to Greebling, and we're gonna look at a couple different ways to do this. Okay, but I'm just looking for anywhere that fits my pieces right now, basically. Okay, let's check in on how we're doing here. Okay, so my river is taking shape. There we go. I'll show it to you there. Okay. Now the thing is, when you look at it close up, it looks pretty crazy, right? You can't really tell what it is. It's kind of like an impressionist painting almost, where if you look close up, it's hard to tell what it is, but as you zoom out, you can get a better sense of what you're building, and it adds a really interesting texture to it, I think. And I think it makes it look more realistic. Because a normal river, it's not all exactly the same color, all perfectly, nice. Maybe it is in some places, right? And I've got that in some places because I've got like my flat pieces. Maybe that's a nice little calm part of the river. And then I've got some rapids where you can see more texture. And you see how I'm layering these pieces too? I'm not just all putting them on the bottom. Then you can start to add things on top of other things, even put them at interesting angles because they're only attached by one stud. Some of these things that just make the build, I think, a lot more interesting and unique. So let's keep going here. I've still got a lot of blue pieces, right? And I haven't used even very many pieces. And oh, I've got like this weird connector piece, right? How can I attach that? Well, this round part can fit onto a stud. So now it's gonna go there in my river. All right, sweet. And I'm just gonna keep going here. I've got a steering wheel. Okay, steering wheel is now a part of my river. Great, it's blue. It meets the criteria. All right, you might run into pieces that are hard to attach in certain ways or things like that. Doesn't matter. You either find a way to attach it and run with that, or don't. And that's okay too. All right, let's see here. Just adding some more texture, adding some slopes and things. And whoa, I've got this crazy piece here, which is gonna need to go on a stud of something. Let's see, let's do, maybe if I attach it onto a piece like this, and then it can be some cool texture like that. Yeah, all right, great. So Greebling, I think, really cool for creating unique, interesting, really very fluid landscapes or other things. Okay, now these ones I've got going here, this is like just straight random pieces, right? You could combine these two. What would happen if I took this path and basically layered it on top of this path? Then I've got that solid, clear underline part, and then I just add some texture on top. So it doesn't have to be just one or the other, right? Now, I also had us gather just all pieces of one color to start here, right? That's how I like to start my Greebling, but does it have to be all in one color? Absolutely not, right? I could add all sorts of other colors on here. And what I like to do is sort of establish the baseline of what I'm doing here with my one color, and then look for ways to incorporate other colors. So if you have ideas of how I could incorporate another color into this and kind of what purpose it would serve, just comment that, write that in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see. Maybe we'll come back to this in a minute. But I'm just going to sort of finish out my river here, or this portion of my river. Ooh, look, this piece that I wasn't sure how I could connect it. I've got a little hole there that I can connect it into. Sweet. You're connecting pieces in any way that they will go together. Really doesn't matter how. Yeah, there we go. I can connect that one on the side there. Okay. Almost done with this part of my river. And I've still got a few pieces left. A flag? Yeah, I can use a flag in my river. That adds some cool ripple effect, right? Okay. Almost done here. And you can kind of just keep going as long as you want with this technique too, right? Because you can build it up. You can layer stuff on top of other things, filling in some of the gaps that I have in there. All right, let's take a look at what we've done here. Oh, I wasn't scrolling down, so I wasn't seeing the comments. Okay, yeah, Ben, you're exactly right here, and yes, not thinking does sound refreshing. I like that. And hi, Evan. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, different colors now. I've got, check that out. Look at the river, right? Because I've got even some different shades of blue, you can start to see some different things, and then you can accentuate that. Like Ben said, add some white for some rapids, little flecks of white. Cool. Add some gray for a boulder. I could even put a boulder right in the middle here, or along the edge, something that it's going around, right? So that's what you can do with this. In fact, let me open up. Oh boy, I've got to rearrange here for a second. All right. That's going to happen when you have Lego stacked too high. All right, public service announcement. Don't stack your Lego too high. Okay, it's okay. My partially built ATSC landed in a purse. It's all good. Okay, so here we go. Switch that over there. And open up another bin here so that I have access to some more pieces. Okay. All right, so like Ben said, adding some flecks of white for some rapids. I like that idea. I'm gonna look for just any little random white pieces I have. And it looks like to me, this area up here looks like some rapids, or maybe down here, maybe this part here where I've got those ripples and things. I'm gonna add some little white flecks kind of to my design here to try to make it look like some rapids. All right. Remember, this is just one way to use Greebling, and I'm going to show you another example here before we're out of time as well. Okay. So now, look at that. I've added some white there. Okay. And now it looks like my river's coming down, and then I get some more interesting rapids and things there, right? Pretty cool, right? And I didn't have to think about that very much at all, right? I just found any blue pieces I could find, laid them on there any way they could go together, and then looked for like, oh, what do I want to add on to that to make it more interesting, right? Okay, so let me show you an example that I built last week over the course of like 2 classes that I was doing. And just using this same premise, I started with a river on this one too, so you'll see what kind of shape it took there. Same exact technique. I've got my river going down the middle. Let me zoom in here. You can see that it's just any old sort of random blue pieces, right? And then on the side, I just started grabbing all sorts of gray pieces to make sort of a rocky landscape, okay? And then someone said, oh, you should add some lava coming in. Great. I added some lava coming in. It's hitting the river here and forming some obsidian. We were in a Minecraft class, and so we were talking about that. But like, I didn't think much about all of this except to like plan out where I wanted my colors. It's just any pieces, right? Take a look at all those gray pieces, slopes and plates and little hinges and like things that wheels can go on, pieces that you might not otherwise have any use for, or you don't really know what they're even from. When you look close up, I think it's really cool too, but it gives you a totally different effect, right? And then you zoom out and you see the whole detail of it, okay? So that's that's the potential of Greebling here. And maybe you don't have a lot of blue or a lot of gray, right? You can do this with any color or any combination of colors. I just think starting with a solid color is a cool way to make it look really interesting and highlight that color, right? Maybe you've got a bunch of yellow and you can build a cool like river of gold or something. I don't know. Or maybe you've got a bunch of green and it's a forest canopy or a field, right? Maybe you have a lot of gray and black and white and other things and you actually make it look more like a city, right? Very cool. Okay. The other way I want to show real quickly to use Greebling is in a little bit more intentional way. Okay. It doesn't have to be this sort of large scale, big random thing. That's how I've been using it so far. Okay. You can also use it to add really cool details to projects that you have. So I was building some Star Wars ships in another class. All these ideas come from class. It's great. And we were building some little TIE fighters. Okay, so I've got my little TIE fighter here. Okay, that wing is just a plate, right? There's nothing on it. Okay, but if you look close up at a lot of the Star Wars ships, they've got so many interesting details. And the details, I think, are what takes something from like, oh, cool, to like, whoa, that's really awesome. So on the other wing here, I added some details, right? Some greebling, okay? I was a little more intentional with how I did this though. And I started just by adding some random things, but then you can think about like, what are these parts? Maybe this little nozzle that you see there, maybe that's a refueling port. And then there's like a hatch to get in and a blaster and you know, whatever else it is, you can think about and be more intentional with what you're putting on there, right? Same thing, I was building a little mini Star Destroyer. And by greebling, by adding those textured details on top, again, a little more intentionally, a little random too, but a little more intentionally, okay, you can create some really cool shapes. These ones, Ben was talking a couple weeks ago about scale. I like building things on different scale too. This giant Star Destroyer, but on a tiny scale, allows you to use like really interesting pieces in different ways, right? This is a little pulley. I've got my bushing on an axle there. Okay. Just stuck those together and that makes the pods on top of the back of the Star Destroyer. Nice, Frank. Arthur and you love Star Wars. That's excellent. I hope you had a good Star Wars day. Yeah, so by greebling though, it takes it from, let me take the stuff off of one side of this so we can look at kind of the difference, right? You go from just the blank shape on this side to a much more interesting look, right? You've got maybe some laser cannons hanging out the side and a docking bay grate that can open and whatever else you think it should be, right? So a couple different ways you can use greebling on a big scale, on a small scale, but overall the goal of it is just adding texture and making things look more interesting, more realistic, right? If you have a project that you've built, some kind of ship, some kind of landscape, some kind of building, try out some greebling. Find a spot that you think it could use just some other details, some other interesting things, and try this out and see what you create, right? I want to see what you're coming up with. If you build something and you want to share it with us, use the hashtag #PlayWellAtHome, or share it on our Facebook page or Instagram, whatever methods you and your parents can use. But we want to see what you're coming up with. So thanks for joining me today, and happy greebling. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.